And I'm very excited to introduce Dean Stein, who's our Dean of Students. For our families who are joining us at Facet, you met him and perhaps heard him speak. And he has been here for the last 7 years, arriving on Tech's campus as the director of the Student Success Program. He has dedicated countless hours to serving your students. And I've been here for 9 weeks now at Georgia Tech, and I have to say that everyone has been so friendly and so helpful in helping me transition to Facet, to welcoming me to everything and helping me get it transitioned. In particular, Dean Stein has been a wonderful help to me. So if I can get a round of applause for Dean Stein.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? So actually, I've been here for 12 years, and this is my 13th. It just feels like 7. So, and as I always say, you should all feel very proud. Your sons and daughters have chosen a wonderful place to be. And those of us that work here are really honored and privileged to A, be at Georgia Tech, and B, to be working with the quality of students that we work with every day. They are truly phenomenal students in every way, okay? And so, again, as I always say, thank you for sharing them with us. Before I begin, I just want to introduce my staff, because being the Dean of Students is a big job at Georgia Tech, and the days of doing it alone are long gone as we continue to increase our enrollment. And the complexity of issues that we deal with on a daily basis, and also just the opportunities that over time we have decided should be part of this experience. And those continue to grow every year in wonderful ways that include things now not just in Atlanta but all over the world. Work opportunities, leadership opportunities, study abroad opportunities, mission opportunities, and civic engagement opportunities. And so it takes a great team to help me deliver the services that we deliver. And I'm very pleased to introduce you to them. Many of them you may have met during Facet, but I'll reintroduce them. So I have 2 associate deans that work very closely with me every day. And really, the 3 of us are the individuals that see students in need of an appointment for many different reasons. Some are in crisis, some have a question, some just want to talk through something, all right? Some want to figure out how to have the conversation with you about something and want some guidance on that, okay? Some of you call us to figure out how to have a conversation with them, and that's okay too. But so the 2 associate deans are Dean Stephanie Ray. Dean Ray. Okay. And Dean Ray's been here 17 years? 17 and a half years. And she's Associate Dean and Director of Student Diversity Programs. Dean Kara Appel-Silbach. Dean Kara. And Dean Kara's been here 4 years, correct? That's 4 years. Okay, great. And Dean Kara really is in the main office, deals a lot with students, faculty, parents, staff in problem solving, troubleshooting, and also heads up our emergency on-call and crisis system for us. Tana Markentel is Assistant Dean. Behind me. And heads up just a small little program we have here called Greek Life. I'm joking. It's a very, very substantial program, and he and his staff really spearhead that and all of the complex things that go with running an efficient and terrific Greek Affairs program. Colleen Riggle is our Assistant Dean and Director of the Women's Resource Center. Colleen, 7 years? 9 years. See, we're not good. We just lose track of time here. So 9 years. Colleen and her staff really work with women, but all students in advocacy and support, in working in crisis intervention with women, and also in preventative education on very, very important issues involving sexual violence, relationships, and other issues. Peter Paquette, our director of, he is Assistant Dean and Director of the Office of Student Integrity. 3 years? 3 years, all right, got that one right. So his office really administers the Code of Conduct and the Honor Code, and also is out in the community speaking to coaches and students and faculty and others on the issue of integrity at Georgia Tech, which is a very, very important issue for us. And as I say at Facet, that the reputation we hold today in both in the state, in the nation, and in the world has to do with the issue of how important integrity is to everything we do and in maintaining the highest level we can in terms of holding on to a very, very significant reputation. Denise Johnson Marshall is our Director of Disability Services and Assistant Dean. This is an easy one. Denise and I arrived around the same time, so Denise is starting her 13th year here at Georgia Tech. And she and her staff work with over 600 students who have registered with official disabilities on campus, both physical, mental, learning disabilities, work very closely with faculty, students in making sure all accommodations are being adhered to and stuff. So she advocates for students and she troubleshoots at times. And she too educates the community on issues related to disabilities. Cynthia Jennings is our Assistant Dean and Director of New Students. Directs students at new students and sophomore programs, and Cynthia just completed her first year at Tech, and so this is the start of her second. We actually took her away from Columbia University, and we're very glad to have her here. She runs the Facet program, and her staff also facilitates rec camp and sophomore programs and other leadership programs for first-year students and stuff. She and her staff have the eye on first and second-year students and trying to help them through transition and stuff. And Jerome Stevens, our Director of Leadership and Civic Engagement. And Jerome, too, just completed his first year. He's the start of the second year. We had a good hiring year last year, and we're very pleased. Jerome and his staff work with students and the 400-plus student organizations. They do lots around civic engagement, community service, and getting students involved. Really, as I say during Facet, that one of the most important things first-year students and all students can do is become engaged in the community, engaged with each other, engaged in the city and elsewhere. And his office really seeks to help students understand ways that they can get engaged on campus, off campus, and to become part of Georgia Tech. He also has his eye and his staff on risk management issues as they relate to things that students get involved in and stuff. We have very creative students, and we have over 400 student organizations, and sometimes a series of conversations have to happen around risk management issues related to some of the clubs and organizations they want to propose. So, his staff. So this is the team. We work very closely together. We spend a lot of time together. We spend a lot of time with your students. Know that every Monday morning this team comes together for 2 hours to review what's happened in the week prior. We look at all of the incidents that occurred on campus that the Dean on Call was involved in. We have strategies for follow-up. We figure out, these are also some of the individuals, most of them actually, are individuals that you would hear from in the middle of the night if your son or daughter was taken to the hospital or if there's another issue playing out. So they do serve on the on-call system here. It's a great team, and so help me give them a round of applause and a thank you. So. And just to put us all in a context, so the Dean of Students Office is in the context of the Division of Student Affairs, and we work with Dr. Schaefer very closely, and we're just a part of a larger team of 90 or plus who really work every day to deliver services and different programs to students, all students on campus. So, as I do with FAFSA, I'd like to start with a few questions. How many of you are parents of first-year students? Raise your hand. Wow. Welcome back. It's good to have you back. Can you believe it's only 28 days? It's only 28 days, and actually today marks 19 days of classes. That's all. 19 days. Now your sons and daughters are going to feel like they've been here forever, and it feels way more than that. I was in the company of faculty yesterday, and they felt like it was way more than that. But we've only been in session 4 weeks. And so if we bump out that one additional week that many arrived, it's 5 weeks. Okay, it's amazing how quickly it all goes. It's amazing how quickly things happen, all right? And I can tell you, teaching GT1000 freshman seminar, it's amazing the transformations I'm already seeing in the students in my class. They are changing in very positive ways, okay? You could see there's more of a maturity about them. There's a little bit more independence about them. There's a little bit more reality setting in. I reminded them that when I asked on the first day, what is the projected GPA that you hope to earn? 70% of them in my class said 4.0. Okay, and as I say at FAFSA, that's not surprising. That's really not surprising based on high school and, achievement. Last week in class, last Friday in class, I said, how many of you would consider changing that GPA right now? Almost every hand went up. Okay. So the reality of life is setting in. Now that doesn't mean that they're going to change it down to a 2.0. They're just realizing what they're up against, right? And we're helping them now understand where they can get the support they need to really achieve at the level they want to, because it is possible. But sometimes, as I say at FAFSA, you need to ask for help. Okay, you need to admit you need help, you need to get that help quickly, and you need to stay with it. Okay? So, how many are parents of second-year students? Very good. Glad you came back a second time. Third-year students. Great. Fourth-year students. Very good. Fifth-year students. Terrific. Sixth-year students. Seventh-year. No. I sat with a mom and a dad 2 nights ago after work. They couldn't come in till after hours, but I sat with them, and the mother looked at me and said, "It's her 6th year. Can you please promise me she will graduate this year?" And I said, I can't do that, but we can all work towards the goal of making it happen if she wants to graduate after 6. But, and how many of you have more than one child here at Tech? Okay, very good. All right. So I know there's one family, and I'm going to start from this side of it. I know there's one family who's now here for the 7th consecutive year. They've been to every family weekend that we have put on. And there they are. All right, raise your hands. 7 years. One daughter graduated. They have another daughter that's attending Tech now. Anybody else? 7 years? 6? 5? Few? 5? Okay. 4? 3? 2? All right, great. All right, so now we kind of have a sense of it. So how is it going? As I say, it doesn't take long for things to start happening. I mean, you put 23,000 individuals in this age group together, and things happen, and they happen pretty quickly. So, many, many wonderful positive things are going on, and then we've had some things that we've had to troubleshoot. Some families have received calls in the middle of the night already, and, it's just part of what we do, okay? Nothing that's happened is not recoverable, and so we can all figure it out and move on, but things do occur, okay? And what I'll say is that as I talk about, lots of the success and lots of the good feelings and responses that first-year students are having, If you're sitting there saying, that's not my son or daughter's experience, and I'm really nervous now, don't worry about that, okay? Because I think that we're only in session 4 weeks. Sometimes it takes students a little bit longer to get their footing. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to figure their path, to find something that they have a passion or interested in. So you can't just measure it that this is what should be happening now. Some students have jumped right in, okay? And I'll give you examples of those. But some, it's going to take a while. Right? And so I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Now, if you're really concerned about your son or daughter and how they're faring, and I did get one email from a parent just saying, I'm really concerned. I don't think he's doing well. I don't think he's meeting people, first-year student. And so, we're trying to get her son in to have a conversation and stuff. But we'll be around, and you can find us and have more of a private conversation about that with us. But how have we done? Well, we had 397 first-year women and 503 men rush this year for a total of 900 students who wanted to be involved in Greek life. That number is up and significantly, and so we're really pleased about that. Okay. As I said, Tanner and his staff do a great job, but there seems to be really an interest in many students to be part of that experience now, and there's a lot of great things that come out of it. First and foremost, a sense of community and belonging. Okay. What I always say is that along the way, if you are aware of something that your son or daughter is experiencing that you just feel as a parent is not okay, you need to pick up the phone and you need to let us know that. Okay, we can only deal with things that we know, but if there's something's going on and they're admitting that, or you're surmising something, I encourage you to please pick up the phone, either call Tanner, myself, any of the associate deans, and have a conversation with us so we could investigate and sort it out. Okay. Phase 1 intramurals, these are just some touch points that we look at to see how students are really responding and stuff. 2,400 students have already signed up for Phase 1 of intramural programs in a variety of different sports. 643 were first-year students, so some of them are just jumping in. And I'm highlighting these to just say that, again, students need experiences where they can let off some steam, where they can have some fun, where they can reduce some stress. Okay? It's very, very important that they find something. It doesn't have to be sports. It doesn't have to be Greek life. But they have to find something to kind of help them manage as we move through this experience, how to deal with stress and how to have some enjoyment and stuff. We have a set of things called FLOWs, Freshman Leadership Opportunity and Organizations. And so FAB is our Freshman Activities Board. 250 students applied for 30 positions. Terrific. Very, very competitive process. Emerging Leaders is another first-year program. 190 students applied for 30 positions. Freshman Leadership Initiative, 148 applied for 16 positions. Freshman Council, 255 students applied for 30 positions. Very, very competitive process. And what I'll say is that that's one thing that students kind of quickly realize. That's not everything, but some of the things that they're going to strive for, they're going to be competing with many, many other students. Okay, and they may not get accepted. They may not get chosen. Right? That's a new experience for many of them. And so, there may be some disappointment. There may be a setback at that point. Why was I not good enough to be part of this group? Okay, and they do a cross-section of students in each of these groups, but not everybody will get chosen. And so we're very aware of that. I want to say, whether it's through Greek life and not getting a bid or through these organizations, sometimes it's a blow in a very quick time to not be chosen for something. And so if that's happening and you feel that your son or daughter is really upset or you really can't deal with that, again, let us know that. We can try to help them. There's so many ways to get involved. These are just some examples of things, but there's so many other ways. If you didn't get into one of these programs, it's not over. It doesn't mean that there's nothing else out there. There's plenty of things out there that they can still get involved in. Okay. One of the first things that we do is to really try to engage them in giving back and understanding our motto of progress and service. A good part of Tech's history is service to others and stuff. And so over the summer, we had that Small Act, Big Impact campaign that we were running through Facet, where we asked families to bring items for a local shelter, day shelter for women and children. And we had collected 4,685 items, which is very good. We're really pleased, and we thank all of you. So we had 100 students attend an event, a packing event, where they made the kind of little gift packs for the shelter. 926 critical needs kits were actually put together. There was a staff member from the Atlanta Mission that spoke to all the students and really thanked them and got them to understand just how much this will mean to the women and the children that are at the shelter and stuff. And so it's a great way, and I think students that come into that program begin to see, where this really notion of progress at Georgia Tech and service really exist. We then moved into a Fresh Friday right after that event, which is a fun carnival, and it's just students can come to it, enjoy a whole series of things, and we had 600 plus students. Okay, now understand that we are competing with many other things going on campus at that point, so they're all over the campus, but 600 came to the event and were there. And then we have what we call Into the Streets, and Into the Streets is the first really organized community service project for first-year students that invites them to come on that first Saturday and be part of going into the Atlanta community and working on a project. And we had 145 first-year students participate in that event. There were 6 faculty and staff that also were involved in it. There were 10 service projects that they could choose from. I'll give you some examples. Easter Seals, Oakland Cemetery, Trees for Atlanta, Atlanta Community Food Bank, and they went out and organized into the field, did some work, and then came back and had pizza and just spent some time together. So just examples, and there'll be other opportunities like this. There are always one-time opportunities that a student can get involved in. There are ongoing service opportunities that the student can be a part of. And I know a lot of students through high school do community service, so this is one way to kind of continue that. And then what we always do is we have an engagement week where we have student organizations come on to Tech Walkway right by the Clough building, from the Clough to the Student Center, and just be out there tabling. And students walk by and they just find out about any organization, and there's different days highlighting different types of organizations. They can submit their name and email to find out more information. We will continue to do this. Obviously, the goal of all this is engagement, is a kind of quick way of getting students connected and to say, here's your opportunities that are there. Come on and join us, okay? So I want you to also be aware of some important dates now as parents. So the progress reports, which we talked about at Facet, the deadline for faculty to submit those grades is September 26th. Okay? Students probably can see those grades, and those grades will be an S or a U. That's either satisfactory or unsatisfactory. They can see that probably the 26th or shortly thereafter online. You cannot see it unless they give you permission to see it, okay? It's all 1,000, 2,000 level, so it's mostly for first and second year students. Once they move up, they're really in 3,000 or 4,000 level classes. So, and it's a first snapshot, an early snapshot of progress, how one's faring. Okay. It is not unusual for a student to have a U, okay, because the grade may be based on one test, right, or a test and a quiz. So it's not unusual to have a U. If they do, I don't want you to panic if they tell you that, they admit to it. If they admit to it, all right, okay, because what we're saying at that point is you may need to get some help, All right, so let's figure this out, and let's kind of remind you of what's out there, and, make access to it, and stay with it, and, turn that U. Now, many of those U's can easily turn into A's and B's by the end of the term, all right? Some C's, but you have to work at it, okay? So they'll get those grades, they'll be online. Please remind them to look. Okay, they should be looking. They have to be looking at this. If they allow you to do that, that's between you and them. But please make sure they look at it and see. Okay, October 13th and 14th, which sounds far away, but it's really not, is our fall recess. We have 2 days that we're off. They tell you we have a week off in October. Don't believe it. 2 days. Okay, long weekend, 2 days. That's a Monday, Tuesday. All right, and it's just a time to breathe, okay? We're at that point, we're heading into midpoint of the term, and we take a little break, all right? And so students, many of them will go home if they can. Some will travel with other students. Some will be invited to other students' families if they're from a distance. Some stay on campus. Some just use it to catch up. Some use it to sleep and relax, okay? Some need to use it to sleep and relax. So, but that's important. October 26th is the last day to withdraw from an individual class with a W, okay? Very, very important date, October 26th, all right? Now, last Friday, I asked how many of you are thinking of maybe withdrawing from a class. In my class, no hands went up. Okay, I'll ask that question again in 2 or 3 weeks, and I might see 1 or 2 hands go up, because at that point they would have maybe taken 2 or 3 tests and they're having a sense of how they're doing. Now, what I want you to understand is that a W on a transcript is not the end of the world. Okay, students do it. It can be very strategic. It could mean the difference between X GPA and Y GPA. And usually I say calculate that out. Put the grade that you think you're going to earn in the course that you're struggling with. Calculate the GPA. Take that out. Calculate the GPA with it out. See the difference, the gap between the two. Okay, if it means a difference between 2.5 versus 3.0, maybe a strategic move to do that. Okay? Now, the only thing I'll say is if it puts them below 12 credits, they first want to have a conversation with financial aid if they're on financial aid. Okay, just to make sure. International students, you have to have a conversation about that too, because you just need to make sure that there's no other implications of withdrawing from that class. Most cases it can be figured out, but that is important conversations to happen. So, yeah. October 10th? Sorry, you're right. I have my 2 dates here. Scratch what I said. Remark it. October 10th is the individual course, W. October 26th is the last day to withdraw from all your classes. Nobody's going to have to do that, but students, some will, all right? Nobody in this room. Okay, October 10th, let me clarify that again, sorry. Thank you. Last day to withdraw from an individual class with a W. October 26th would be everything's falling apart, I need to get out. I'm going to save my transcript, save my GPA, and withdraw from everything. Those are the 2 dates, all right? Midterms happen during week 7 and 8. So we have had a very fun, exciting opening, okay? Now we're heading into week 4. First round of tests are starting to happen. I always ask the question, how many of you have tests this week? How many of you have tests next week? As we move through, more and more hands go up. This week, chemistry and physics just had their first round of exams, right? So we will now build between 4 and 8 of, it'll start going this way, which means that there's more tests, a little bit more stress, a little bit more need to buckle down, focus, and study. Okay, that'll bring us to the midway point, and then it dips a little. There's a breather before it starts going back up. There's a rhythm to a semester. Students will eventually realize that rhythm. But there is a rhythm to the semester, and we can help them see that, and you can help them see that. But we are moving into more of a crunch time. So what you usually see at this point are They're a bit more tired. They're a bit more stressed because they're realizing they have 2 or 3 exams. They're staying up late studying. And also the first round of getting back exams and coming to a sense of reality as to how things work at Tech. Okay? Who can tell me what's the most important question when the exam comes back? Yes. What's the average? What's the mean? Okay, say that during orientation. Please remember that. Okay, I asked the students the other day in my class, how many of you had that first calculus test? The student said, I earned a 60. Okay, I said, how did you feel? He said, terrible. I said, what was the mean? He said, I don't know. I said, find out the mean. Find the mean for the test. Okay, it's very important. All right, that 60 may be above the mean. Okay, maybe slightly below. So that's what we want to remind them, is to find the mean. Okay. October 16th, the listing for spring classes come out. So it sounds pretty quickly, but October 16th, all of the courses that will be taught in the spring are online. They should be going in whatever time they have to go into that, start looking, meeting with their advisors, and figuring out what courses. October 27th through November 14th is phase 1 of spring registration. Now for first year student parents, I can tell you, first year students, this gets all very confusing. And because they're just trying to take care of business in front of them with these courses, and already we're prompting them for next semester, start thinking about, start figuring out what you want to take. But we have to do that. They have to register. So we ask that you kind of remind them of these dates and also say, have you met with your advisor? Do you know what you're going to be taking? All right. But by November 14th, phase 1 ends, and they should have their courses all in place. They will get dates and times that they can actually register, but they still can go in pretty quickly and once those courses are online. October 27th, 28th is Thanksgiving holiday here, Thursday, Friday. Now for families out of state and abroad, what I would say is do not work with the assumption that faculty are going to cancel classes on Wednesday and book a flight for Wednesday morning. Please do not do that, okay? Because some faculty will actually schedule an exam on that day, all right? And they will hold firm that the student needs to be there. And so, and I know some of you may have already booked flights for this time for economy reasons and stuff, but just be careful. The same thing is true for finals. Do not book flights until the last final is over. And their final is over. Do not expect that the faculty are going to allow them to, be able to go one day early. Okay, faculty sometimes will not do that. And there are limitations, honestly, to what we can do. We can try to have the conversation with the faculty member, but if he or she just stands firm, then there's really nothing we can do. The final, they'll hold it, and they have to take that exam. So just as you're booking flights and stuff, keep that in mind. And then on December 5th, classes end. Okay, so we reach the end, and our finals are from December 8th to the 12th. And then we will send them home to you. Okay, so they will be home pretty early in December. If they are going home. And then we do not start back until January 6th. That's the first day of classes for spring term is January 6th. So they'll have about a month home to just take a break, rest. Finals end on the 12th, Friday. Grades are due Monday of that week. Commencement happens. Grades are due Monday. And then they can start seeing their grades for fall term probably on Tuesday. That's when they can go in and look at the grades that they earn for fall term, okay? So that's how the calendar will unfold for the next few weeks, and I think as families, it's just important for you to remember that. So some students, how many of you feel like your son or daughter is struggling a little bit with homesickness right now? Anybody? Not one person? Wow. I'm impressed. They love us so much, and they're so happy to be away from you that they... For the 1 or 2 parents that didn't have the courage to raise their hand, because I know you're out there. let me just remind you, homesickness at this point is common, okay? As I said, the newness of all this is starting to fade, and the reality is hitting in. And so some students at the front end may not have been homesick because they were so caught up in the excitement and everything. And then as time goes on, they get a little homesick. And so what do? I mean, what you do is you encourage them to stay with the plan, you know, that you're still there. This is a great place. But you also remind them there's a counseling center. They can talk to somebody. Doesn't mean they're crazy if they're homesick, but there are good people in the counseling center to talk to. They can come into the dean's office and talk to any of us. Okay? They can talk to their residence life staff member, their hall director, their PL about it. They could talk to another student about it. Okay? One of the things that we know about our students is nobody likes to admit that things are going less than perfect. They just don't. I mean, and they'll admit that to me, you know, but they don't want to admit it to each other because everybody feels I'm the only one at times. And you know, what we can reassure them is that they are not the only one. There are many students out there right now who are feeling X, Y, and Z after the first response to tests, a little bit of homesickness, you know, missing their dog, right? So there are all kinds of things. Actually, I asked that question in my class, and you will all be pleased to know they said my parents. That was the first. Parents and friends came second, pets were third, so I think they put what I wanted to hear. So, academic help, there's some sessions today, very good sessions that can remind you of where to go, where they can go for help and where you can remind them to go. Coaching, tutoring, available, okay? Many, many different places on campus. It's not for a lack of resources, they're out there. What gets in the way is their ability to admit they need it and to access it. And so we have to have you help us help them see that it's okay to go ahead and get this help. All right? Remember to remind them to continue to talk to their faculty or start to talk to their faculty. Say hello, go to an office hour, make a connection. Okay, get to know their TA in the course. I mean, these are all important people in their lives, and that they should try to say hello and make the connection to, particularly first-year students, right? The question, have you been asking the question of, have you been going to class? Have they been telling you the truth? All right? Very important. You know, I'll ask this question next week. If I was in class today, I have to miss class because I'll be on a panel here today. But I would have asked it today, 4 weeks in, and I would have said, how many of you have missed a class to see if anybody missed a class and why? Okay, and then we would have a conversation about why is it 19 days in you're missing class? 19 class days and you already missed class, other than being ill or something, you know, and get them to think that through and kind of the difference between high school when they never missed and why now? Is it okay to miss class? Why aren't you going? Okay? And so you should continue to remind them to the importance of attending class. Right? Learning happens in the classroom, and they need to be there. And it's very easy. This is the period of time to really hone good skills and not get into those kinds of those behaviors that actually take away from success. All right? But the most important thing I do want to say is really, through all of this, is maintaining a sense of balance, maintaining a sense of self, maintaining a sense of wellness and happiness, all right? Because we talk a lot about the rigor, we talk a lot about expectations, we probably use the word success way too many times because we really are about success. But students have to find a sense of self, a sense of peace, a sense of happiness, a sense of well-being here. Okay, and we want to really help them do that, remind them. And you can have both. You can be a good student and yet have a sense of self, a sense of wellness. Take care of yourself along the way. right? You don't have to do it at the expense of friends. You don't have to do it at the expense of joy and the expense of getting involved in something, okay? And holding on to something, right? You know, remember as parents what they used to enjoy doing, what brought them a sense of satisfaction, what helped reduce stress, whether it was playing the piano, going for a run, whatever it was. You remember that because they're going to forget it, some of them. And what I want you to do is to remind them of that, to remind them, okay? One of the most difficult conversations I had with a young woman here who really, you know, was working so, so hard. And I asked her, you know, what do you do when you're not doing all of this? And she looked back at me and said, I don't know. I said, you don't know? What do you like to do for fun? And she sat there blank and said, I don't know. And I said, sure you do. Dig deep. It's there. You do. Find it. And it took her a while. We sat in silence for a while. And finally she said to me, you know, before coming to tech, I was a pianist, a classic pianist. I played the piano. I was involved in concerts and different things. And I said, when's the last time you played the piano? And she said, not since I've been at Tech, 2 years. Okay? And I said to her, your homework assignment tonight is to go find the piano on campus and play. Reconnect with something that brings you a sense of joy and sense of peace and sense of satisfaction. Okay? And I want you to help them remember that. Because somewhere, it may not be this year, but somewhere along the way, they're going to forget it, most of them. And we want to remind them, okay? And I think in reminding them, we can bring them back to something that will help keep them. It's not the only answer, but it's something that will help keep them on track. So I welcome you to Family Weekend. It's going to be a great weekend. Who's going to win? All right, okay. Everybody promise that? All right, we're 2 for 2 now, so we want 3 for 3, okay? Anytime you need to reach us, you know how to get a hold of us. Have a great family weekend. Have a great time visiting if they have time for you, but I hope they do. And thank you very much.